Oh, well, hi there. Welcome to Chatty Patty, the show where you, yours, and yours truly talk to some of my favorite artists and figure out what they're all about. I'm Patti Boo Rae, and today I'm getting on the horn with the one and only Joanie Crump. Joanie is a creative producer and artist maker based in Hartlepool. She's worked in the creative sector since 1997, producing festivals and events. During lockdown, she started experimenting with felt art and has become a maker of drag-inspired headpieces, art dolls, and puppets. She's been commissioned to create felted artwork for drag, including the Velvet Snatch's Christmas Lockdown Panto, Choriza May's music videos, and Joe Leather's drag theater show Wasteman at Soho Theatre, London. Joanie is also the founder of Hartlepool Folk Festival, now in its 10th year and coming up soon, October 3rd to the 5th. So get your tickets while they're hot. I'm very excited to speak to Joanie about all things expat, folk, and making funny things to put on your head. So without further ado, operator. Hello, this is Patti Boo Rae. Chatty Patty. Joanie Crump, welcome to Chatty Patty.
Thank you so much. It's so lovely to be here.
Oh, thank you. Joanie, how do you answer the phone?
I don't answer the phone. It can it rings. I don't know. Why do people want to talk to me? Leave me alone.
Well, you're doing better than me because mine's on silent. So.
Fair play.
At least you can hear it. At least you know you've missed it.
Absolutely. You know, oh look, see who it is. Maybe I might ring them back.
Yeah, you can think about it.
Yeah.
Joanie, I'm so excited to have a little chat to you because we are both expats.
Yeah.
You're big in folk music. I'm really into country music.
Yeah.
But we both make music and make things. And so I want to know, first and foremost, what makes you tick?
I think finding out being late diagnosed ADHD, very neurospicy, and finding that it's okay not to take one path and go along it. You know, folk music I've probably been into since I was about 20, but as an adult, I've also definitely returned to my queer roots that kind of emerged when I was a young teenager with the friendship group that I had and all that kind of thing. But you know, the thing that unites both of them is actually history and heritage. Because the thing that's super interesting to me about both drag culture, queer culture, folk culture is, where does this come from? Why do we do it? Who are the people who have kept it going, that have helped us to keep doing it? And also with both of them, how are we interpreting? How are we interpreting that now, you know? And how is it different now than it was 20 years ago or 40 years ago or 100 years ago?
Absolutely. That's so fascinating. And about who writes those histories and who tells those histories.
Such a big thing.
Because I think, and I want to hear about folk music, because I grew up in Texas just immersed in the water of country music, which is, I thought, like a very white art form and a very conservative art form. And then it's only later that I have learned the other histories of like the black and brown and radical roots of country music, and how country music as it exists today wouldn't exist without all those other people who we don't always think of as part of the history of country music. So I wonder, did you have a similar experience with folk music, of finding alternative histories?
Oh, absolutely. So growing up, I grew up in New Jersey, and I grew up near the Pine Barrens. We had like the Jersey Devil and things like that, right? So it's all this kind of really well-known now folklore, but then like nobody knew. Unless you lived there, nobody really knew what these things were and what that culture was. The whole culture in southern New Jersey, which is it's very rural, and I mean, my family is very much part of that, because my family emigrated to America from Sicily in the beginning of the 20th century, and they had a farm in that area. Yes, it was a very white male thing to
folk
be
music.
Interested in. Well, folk culture, even, you know? And I mean, the closest we ever got to folk culture when I was at school was Dewey Square dancing in school.
And we did that as well.
Yeah. So, and every now and again we would have somebody come who would do local puppet shows and things like that about local heritage and culture. And we would go and visit the ghost towns that were in the Pine Barrens and things like that, which was pretty cool. But you learn to, as you get older, and as I discovered the folk culture and the folk music underneath that, when I was around sort of 20, I started to discover the really interesting folk music of Ireland, of England. The deeper you dive, the more you realize that all of that history has been written and mediated by white affluent men. And, whether it was Vaughan Williams, whether it was Percy Grainger, who were doing it for their own classical music practice, whether it was Cecil Sharp, where he was really trying to save something that he saw was in danger of disappearing. But there was a woman called Mary Neal, who, when Cecil Sharp was kind of saving folk dancing, Morris dancing and that, Mary Neal was doing the same thing. She was teaching working class girls in the East End of London how to Morris dance and saying, this is part of your culture. But the problem is that they started out as allies, Cecil Sharp and Mary Neal. Then there was a rift. And basically, Cecil Sharp kind of won. Like he won the kind of propaganda war. And so Mary Neal kind of receded the spirit that she brought to it, where she didn't care whether people changed the steps. She didn't care whether people were doing it exactly as people had done it previously, because she was like, this is dance of the people. This is dance that belongs to all of us. And as working class women, this dance belongs to you, not just white men prancing around in posh gardens somewhere. And then obviously there is a lot of stuff around people of color in folk music. And there's an amazing artist, if you can find her, called Angeline Morrison. We had her at the festival a couple of years ago. And she is from Cornwall. She is a Black British singer. And she wrote an album called The Sorrow Songs. And it's songs of the Black British experience. And she went around and found all of these stories of Black people. A lot of people kind of make that assumption that it's always been very monocultural here. And she found all these stories. And she wrote this beautiful album about these individuals that she found in British culture. So I'm all about that.
So I want to talk about your work on drag as a kind of folk art. Just what you're saying about folk culture and folk music as a container for stories and like a vessel for culture that gets passed along is so much a part of drag and always has been.
Yes.
So do you want to talk just a bit about what you mean by drag as folk art?
Well, I'm just kind of doing a master's in drag. At Newcastle, I'm restarting my MA in the autumn. So I started going to drag shows from when I was about sort of 16. I was really lucky because in the town that I grew up in, we had a whole street that had gay bars on it, and we could get served as pretty young things.
Yes. It's funny, you can just kind of slip under the radar sometimes.
And so I used to be able to see drag shows, and I remember those first drag shows just like being so eye-opening to me. But in New York, I can remember not long before I emigrated, Lip Syncer. And she was doing all of these callbacks to 30s and 40s movies and stuff. And I realized that drag carries with it this heritage, this camp heritage, this heritage of glamour, but also subversion. And young drag artists now are probably more influenced by people like Lip Syncer than they even realize. And it's gorgeous when you go to see Sacha Velour. There's a whole bit of her live shows that's like a tribute to Lip Syncer because of all of those little audio clips and everything. And we think of that as being intrinsic to drag now. But I think that probably Lip Syncer started it. And it's such an interesting thing to look at the way that you can chop up sound. You can use found sound, almost like found objects, to construct a narrative that those things were never meant to be a narrative of. You create a whole new narrative through the performance, through the music and everything. And so I think that that's very much a folk process, because you're taking things that already existed and you're kind of organically making them something completely different.
I think a lot of people conceive of folk art and folk traditions as maybe conservative is too strong a word.
No, I wouldn't say it is. I think,
conservative because traditional. But you were talking about folk traditions, certainly in the drag context and in a queer context, as being subversive. What do you think is the relationship between subversiveness and folk traditions? Are all folk traditions in some way subversive, at least at some point, before they kind of become ossified into something that seems more conservative? Or is that an element that sets drag apart as a folk tradition because of its subversive qualities? Does that make sense?
It completely makes sense. And I think that it's a very relevant question, because when the term folk was first coined, it was pejorative because it was working class
And when
culture.
was that?
There was a German philosopher who it was Volk. Yeah.
Sure.
So it would have been, I think, mid 19th century, where it was folk music, but it was the music of the people, but in a pejorative way. So I think if you look at it that way, folk has always had an intrinsically subversive side to it, because particularly in England, the high art thing, all people cared about was classical music, classical dance, classical theatre, that kind of thing. They didn't care about people dancing in their village on a particular day of the year, or doing a little mumming play in their village on Boxing Day or whatever. They weren't really interested in that. So I think if you look at people actually turning around, standing up for folk and saying, this is ours, it matters, it's significant, and within it you find a record, particularly in those lyrics and those songs, you find a record of working people in this country. So from that, I would say it's intrinsically subversive, though people being nostalgic about a Britain that perhaps never existed have tried to co-opt it, tried to take it away, tried to make it part of a nationalist, conservative identity. Myself and several of my friends on the folk scene started an organization in 2009 called Folk Against Fascism, which we've just revived because it feels like we need it now more than ever.
Timely. Yeah.
But at that time, the BNP was trying to kind of co-opt folk music as part of its nationalist identity. They started their own Morris dancing side. They were singing folk songs at their rallies. I mean, and they were selling the albums of folk artists on their website as if that was sanctioned by the artists. And so we created it so that the folk community as a whole could basically say, not in our name.
Which happens, like, I really relate to that, obviously, as someone who loves country, because country has been so,
of course,
they're always trying to co-opt it. And then to see, like, Carrie Underwood, who I always loved growing up, singing it Trump's inauguration, I was like, it really hurts. I'm like,
of course it does.
But then again, country album of the year was Beyoncé. Try as they might, they can't stamp it out.
They can't have it.
They can't take it.
No, they
because it always pops up and keeps growing.
And we have to be the people that say, this is not yours.
I don't know if you relate to this, but living in the UK for quite a long time, it took me a few years to start to realize, because I was living in Scotland at the time, that so much of the folk tradition and so many of the songs that exist in kind of Celtic folk are the same music that exists in the States. You know, I heard a song in a pub one time and I was like, I swear I know like a Dolly Parton version. So that was really meaningful to me as well. Sometimes felt like I didn't fully belong in either place. That music became a thread for me and a way to like bring them both together.
It's all about immigrants going to America from England, from Scotland, from Ireland, and taking their music with them, going to places like Appalachia. It changes, it evolves. The Oxford girl becomes the Knoxville girl. Yeah. So you get a lot of that kind of thing within folk music. There was an academic called Francis Child who was American, and he went and found all of these songs, the child ballads. He went and found them and researched them in the South in America, but they were all songs that had been brought over from Britain.
Wow.
So that is all of those traditions, those kind of Southern Appalachian traditions. The more remote communities were, the more they held on to their traditions and their music and everything.
And I think like the other important thing to remember that certain people in America will try to make you forget is that it doesn't become bluegrass without African and Caribbean influences.
Who invented
and instruments.
The banjo.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Which it really pisses me off that the banjo has somehow become like a white pride thing. I'm like, God, put it down. Anyway, it makes me so mad.
But that's what's so interesting about the Carolina Chocolate Drops. They kind of reintroduced black banjo playing to like mainstream country music. It's very much about that reclamation, which is incredibly important. You know, there was another collector called Alan Lomax who went around the South, but the people that he and his father were collecting from, he was going into the prison farms in the South.
Wow.
And he was collecting. That's where Leadbelly, Huey Ledbetter, that's where his songs came from. He was a prisoner at one of the farm camps. So Lomax was recording work songs, which of course are so related to both sea shanties and also to African music. And he's collecting these things and they are part of that beautiful patchwork quilt of American Southern music. For anybody to say that country music is a white music, they're just deluded.
Patti can't come to the phone right now. Can I take a message?
I love Patti Boo Rae.
Thank you. Not everyone gets it.
It's so funny.
But it's a little, for those who do.
It's fabulous. The first Texan person I ever knew was my friend Patrick Hamilton, who was in the original cast of Best Little Whorehouse.
Wow!
Yes. He played the governor.
No way!
Yeah. And he was my best friend David's partner. And he was a bit older than us, about 10 years older than us, but he just knew so much and he was just so clever. He was a married man in Texas and then kind of decided he needed to live his truth. He was a preacher's son and all the rest of it, and moved to New York. He'd been married, he had a daughter. She still used to come and visit him and stuff, you know. Wow. I mean, he was a fabulous theater artist. He died in 1991, 92. He was the first person to introduce me to an avocado. It was the first time
way!
First time I ever had guacamole.
What did you think? I can't even imagine having an avocado for the first time as an adult.
I know, right? It was a bit weird. It was a bit soapy at first, but I got it, you know?
The texture thing.
Yes, the texture is very strange if you don't know about it, but yeah, he was fabulous.
Hello, operator. Can you put me through to the next segment?
I love it that these match my...
Yeah, so you've really dressed for the occasion. So for those who aren't watching, first of all, watch, because I don't know what I'm doing all this for, just for y'all to listen on Spotify, I guess.
Right.
But if you're not watching, I'll take pity on you. Joanie's wearing a fabulous orange dress patterned with teacups, some orange leggings, some brogues. You've got the most beautiful blue hair,
Thank you.
orange teabag earrings.
I made these a couple of days ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you make the hat as well?
I put the yolk on the back of it, so it's an egg.
It's a fried egg beret.
Yeah.
To match my fried egg earrings, also made by Joanie, which I love.
Thank you.
Okay, Joanie, you have said that if you were to be a beverage.
Oh, I did.
If you embodied a beverage, that would be a spicy mango margarita with tahini.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering why. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
God, it's 11 in the morning. It's the perfect time for a little mango marg.
That is spicy marg in the morning.
Cheers, darling.
Oh, girl.
Why
this
a mango
is
marg?
amazing. Why a mango marg?
I mean, why not a mango marg?
Exactly. That actually brings me back to talking about Patrick, because first margarita I ever had. Texan man.
It's Patrick.
Yeah.
It's a little spicy.
That's good. I was not expecting this. This is amazing. Well, they're a little bit fruity. They're a little bit spicy. Always over the top. Quite fun. I mean, in a teacup, work.
A beautiful color.
Gorgeous color.
As I feel like you often
matches my dress. Oh, thank you. So yes, I mean, why would you not? Margarita is the moment, isn't it?
I wonder, now that I've gotten to hear a little bit about what you're passionate about, is there anything that really grinds your gears at the moment?
Fucking turfs. Yeah. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, you can swear.
Fucking turfs,
I
man.
checked, don't worry.
Okay. Honest to God, I'm just so done. So done. I'm sorry, but So we run a festival.
Do plug the festival while you're talking about it.
Hartlepool Folk Festival.
Hartlepool Folk Festival, which is in its 10th year this year. Congratulations.
Thank you. 3rd to the 5th of October. And it is probably, we've been called the most radical folk festival in the country by one of the folk publications.
So they're radical, some of these folk festivals.
Oh, is it a high bar? No, it's something that I would aspire to. But it's almost like one of our artists once said it was kind of like the Hay Festival of folk,
Great.
So we try and bring in lots of talks, lots of interesting debates. We have books, we have screenings, we have all kinds of stuff. It's not just music, by any stretch of the imagination. And we also have a big free family festival outside so that it's not exclusive, so that local people in Hartlepool can come and experience something that is actually part of their culture that they might not even be aware of. So we love that. But the festival has always booked queer artists, has always booked trans artists, and it's always been something that is really important to me. We have a cabaret on the Saturday night, which is always really, really camp. And the only rule is there's no folk at it, but it's all folk artists. And there's a theme every year. So I was the 80s last year, which was amazing. We had a Morris dance side dancing to Nick Kershaw's Wouldn't It Be Good? It was, chef's kiss. And it was lots of really daft things. Choriza May has performed at it. It is just queer and camp and silly and fun. So all of those things are super important to us. And as a result, when the new EHRC guidelines, and let's call them guidelines, guys, because they are not laws, they are not binding. So keep this in mind. If anybody is giving you any nonsense about not complying with the law, this is not the law, okay? But we do use council venues. And so we have to make sure that what we're doing, the council is on board with.
Right.
So we had said, basically, we're going to designate our toilets as gender neutral so that nobody has to feel uncomfortable going into the men's or the ladies, and nobody can be confronted or nobody can be addressed in a way that is disrespectful just for using the loo. And the grief I am getting from these TERFs, I cannot even tell you.
How did they even find out about it?
Because they have weaponized freaking Google alerts. That's why. They just, anything that comes up, there they are. And I look at them. I look to see who these people are that are talking to me. And they are all people for whom this is their single issue agenda. And they have nothing to do with folk music. They would never visit my festival. They've got nothing to do with us as a community.
Are they even in Hartlepool?
No.
Right.
We've had somebody in Newcastle, but recently the failed reform candidate for Darlington, who came third. He came third, Michael, has been giving me this constant barrage of what if my wife sees a man in the women's toilets? And I'm saying there are not going to be women's toilets, so that's impossible.
Good answer.
Yeah, and
also, are they coming to Hartlepool Folk Festival?
Insists that he is coming.
Well, great.
Yeah, I said,
I
you
hope
buy
that's a lovely time.
I said, baby girl, you buy a ticket. You buy a ticket, have an amazing time. But I'll tell you right now, if you are disrespectful to any of our audience, you will be removed. And then, of course, they turn around and say, well, maybe I should talk to your funders. Maybe I'm going to talk to these. So they're low-key threatening you. And I'm like, Do you think I haven't spoken to them about this? Do you think we have not run this through legal? Do you think we have not made sure that what we're proposing to do absolutely falls within the law? But I am so done with it, because as soon as this happened, I was getting messages from people saying, I don't want to go out anymore. And I'm sorry. It makes me so angry. So angry. You know, really beautiful queer community in Hartlepool, several of whom are trans women. And my friend Georgina, who lives in Sheffield, who's performing at the festival this year. And all these beautiful young queens on the Newcastle scene who are finding their truth and finding their identity. And please donate to all of their GoFundMes, because they need it. You know, they really do need this. But I can't understand the hatred. I mean, I can. Do you know what? I'm old enough to know exactly where that hatred is coming from, because it's exactly the same thing they were saying about queer people in the 80s. It's exactly what they were saying about it in the 70s. The whole AIDS scaremongering, all of that. It's exactly the same thing. This is something that is a non-issue for the vast majority of women. And it disgusts me that it's been weaponized in the way that it has.
Anyone who is old enough to remember the kind of rhetoric that was going around about gay people and about marriage equality, and then claims to support gay rights but oppose trans rights. I'm like, I actually don't believe you, because it's exactly the same. I'm like, you must hear it. Like, you do know in your heart that it's the
absolutely
same.
That it's nonsense.
Right.
And that this is not feminism.
No.
You know, 100%. The thing that it is not is feminism. I'm not even going to speak the name, the Dementor. I'm not going to say her name. But, you know, the idea that you would have all that money could solve so many problems in the world, and then what you would do with that money is use it to persecute one of the most marginalized groups in society. What is wrong with you? There's nothing that grinds my gears more right now than that. Oh, apart from Palestine. Sorry.
There's a lot to grind one's gears.
There really is. You know, there's a lot of scary, this shift to the right that we've seen. It's terrifying. I lived through Reagan. I lived through Thatcher. I really didn't think it was going to get worse. I didn't think it could get worse. How do you feel about going home at the moment? Because I don't feel good about it.
I feel complicatedly.
Yeah.
I really love Texas. And it's part of like what we were saying about like with country music and with folk traditions earlier. I'm not ready to give that up and say that this is not
this belongs to you now.
Yes, like it's my home. Like I belong there just as much as anyone else. And
100%.
so I'm not willing to stop going back. Also, you know, I'm really close to my family and they're all still in Texas, and I absolutely love being there. But, you know, then there are like safety concerns.
Serious safety concerns.
And
we are American citizens, and this is how we feel.
Yeah, I don't feel great about it.
And it's the fact that they can take your phone from you. I run the Folk Against Fascism group. You know, somebody finding that Donald Trump has completely demonized Antifa. What does Antifa mean? Dude, it's anti-fascism. How are we demonizing that when America, the land of the free? Do you know what I mean? It's crazy.
We kind of gave up on that.
If somebody looks at my socials and stuff, I just don't know what would happen now. That's crazy that I'm worried about crossing my own border because I don't know what would happen.
I know.
You know? So at the moment, and I have to say my family, it's not that they're telling me to stay here because they don't like me. They do like me. They really want me not to come over.
Jody, just stay put. It's fine. It's fine. You seem really happy there.
But normally I would go over once a year. And I'm not there now.
Yeah.
You know?
Just one moment, please.
Joanie, I wonder if you would like to make a confession while you're here. Anything that's been weighing on your heart, and then we can absolve you of it and send you away feeling light and forgiven and free.
I'll have a little think, but I mean, generally I'm pretty amazing.
Yeah.
No, let me think. I'd like to be absolved of the paralysis that comes with being neurodivergent. I would like to be purged, which is not really a confession, but I would love it if somebody could take that out of my life, because it's something that, again, when you kind of realize quite late what's going on and that it's always been there, that paralysis has been your saboteur for your entire life. I mean, I feel like I've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I have done a lot of stuff.
You did kind of mention ADHD in your What Makes You Tick. Is it sort of a double-edged sword? Do you think that is also part of why you are the way that you are and make the wonderful things that you make?
Hyperfocus is the reason why I was able to learn how to make things during lockdown when I'd never made anything with my hands before. Never. I always thought I wasn't good at that because I couldn't draw.
Yes.
You know? But all of a sudden during lockdown, we had this incredible space to try new things. So I just started making things and brought a camp sensibility to the stuff that I was making, which I think is one of the reasons why it maintained my interest for long enough for me to realize that actually I was fairly good at it. So yeah, so I love doing that. And I love doing lots of things that my ADHD gives me permission to do. It is a blessing and a curse, 100%. It's a process of coming to understand it and deal with it, you know?
Hello, can I take a message?
Joanie, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about folk artists in the Northeast or beyond that we should be looking. Oh, so sorry.
That's okay.
Hello. Yes, this is she. Oh, it's for you.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. Hello?
Hello, Joanie, mi amore. It is Choriza May, your favorite Spanish sausage, and I have a question for you. You've made many felt dolls for some of my music videos, but I am genuinely so curious. What is the most unhinged commission you've ever said yes to? Love you.
Oh, Jojo.
Oh.
How gorgeous.
You have. So if anybody hasn't seen the work that you've done for Choriza's music videos, they are beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
It's gorgeous work.
Thank you. Yeah, such a privilege to be asked to do those. To be honest, the most unhinged thing that I've ever been commissioned to do was probably the artwork for Eat That Ass, where I had to do all this food that referenced like asses, you know?
Can you describe a couple of them?
Sure. So I had to make this doll. I had never done something that was wired that could be, so that you could do stop motion animation with it. And so that's what it had to be. And she had to be holding her knife and fork. And it was Choriza in one of her looks from Drag Race. There was all this food. So I did like a little lobster with like assless chaps on. So his little bum is sticking out. And then I did lots of peaches in a bowl because of Choriza's My Pussy is Like a Peach.
Yeah.
And then did like a glazed ham with just pineapple with like little cherries in the middle.
Did she give you a steer? Or did she say, did you have to think of all the food yourself?
She told me what she wanted.
Right.
And then I thought of all the food
She's
myself.
like, here's the concept. I
Yeah.
need a giant banquet of food that looks
Yes.
like asses in various forms.
Exactly this.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was so much fun to do. And then she was really happy with it. So then she got me to do her entrance look from Drag Race, which is like stunning, this gorgeous red gown with feathers and everything. And it was going to be for a real torch song, a literal torch song, because in the video, the theater that she's singing in burns down, but it's a song called Burn a Little Brighter. Gorgeous song. I loved making her.
I can't believe you just started doing all of this like in lockdown.
I know.
It feels like you've been doing it forever.
Isn't it crazy?
You got very good very fast.
Oh, thank you. Two of the first things I ever did when I first started making stuff was to make Velvet Snatch and to make Choriza May, long before Choriza had done Drag Race and everything. And it was like in her alien outfit, which I absolutely loved. And just because I wanted to see if I could. And then somebody commissioned me to do Latrice Royale, and I did that. Every single time you make something, you're learning. It's such a process. And the reason that Choriza commissioned me to do that artwork for the videos was because she and Risque had commissioned me to make a piece for Sally Trademark's birthday. So I did like a portrait of Sally Trademark, which they then framed, put it in like in a beautiful frame in her green wig and leopard look.
Like a three-dimensional, like a felted portrait.
Yeah. So it was like a doll's head almost, but flat at the back.
Wow.
And I guess they liked it because then Choriza said, could you do this for me? I mean, I love making stuff to just wear to things like the Drag Idol final. Like my daughter lives in Scotland. And so she was telling me about how everywhere you go, there's like free period products. And I hated that we don't have that in England. So
That's so true. I never noticed that before.
It's super true. Yeah. Huh. Scotland's just better.
Yeah.
Scotland's just better at lots of things. You know,
but
it's really true. And so I made for the Drag Idol final a few years ago, I just made this giant tampon with like glitter blood like dripping down onto my face and stuff.
A hat?
Like a headpiece.
A headpiece.
Yeah. I like making big headpieces. I made a big, like an octopus headpiece with ink that was like pissing down onto my head, you know?
I think I saw a beautiful Christmas tree that you did.
Oh, yeah. That was inspired by Miss Yvonne from Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Oh,
yeah, because she
right,
did that once. And so, but I did it. So I made a wig, like a Christmas tree wig out of felt and did like little kiss curls and stuff. I loved that. I loved making that.
Hello? Oh, I think you must have the wrong number.
Joanie, what are you proudest of?
This is my daughter count.
Yeah, sure.
She's my greatest work of art. No, she's amazing.
She's the one who lives in Scotland.
Yeah. She's a union organizer.
Great.
And she's queer and she's just going around like living her best life. I'm so proud of the woman that she has become. Like it actually almost makes me fill up. Like when I think about how much I adore her and how proud I am of her. She's amazing.
You should be proud. It sounds like you have very good reason to.
She lived with that story in lockdown, which was because I got really ill. I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer.
Oh my God.
During lockdown. They found it because I had a tumor that perforated my bowel. And so I got peritonitis, and that was how they found it. So then I had to have 6 months of chemo during lockdown and all of this kind of thing. But Daisy and my partner, Johnny, were there, and they were amazing. They were just the thing that you need in a situation like that is you need people who bring you joy. And we had so much freaking fun. Like we would have weekends where it was like, Daisy would be like, okay, it's Weimar Republic weekend. So we're watching cabaret, we're eating bratwurst, and we're going to drink Bavarian beer. Aww. And that's what and like every weekend we would do something different like that. We were just doing things that sparked joy, you know, and I give Johnny, my partner, the credit for that as well. They made it bearable. They made it possible for me to get through that time.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm so lucky. I have a gorgeous family in America, but my family here, I cannot believe how fortunate I am. Work-wise, realistically, I'd have to say the festival, because 10 years, and it's not been easy.
That's such an achievement.
It's not been easy because, you know, every year, because we've always applied for funding. And so we've always been able to do more than we could if we just had tickets revenue.
Yeah.
But every year, you're having to reapply. Every year, you're having to scramble and scrape because you want to make this thing that has the creative vision that you want it to have, and you don't want to compromise on that, but you still have to make sure that you can pay for it. So it's challenging.
Well, congratulations on 10 years.
Thank you.
That's really exciting.
Thank you. I can't believe it's gone by so quickly. It feels important to me to bring something like that to Hartlepool, because Hartlepool is a place that doesn't get a lot of things. It's a place that gets forgotten a lot of the time. It's a place that gets exploited politically by people who want to take its problems and magnify and amplify them and turn around to people and say, we're the solution to those problems, when they're clearly not. It's one of those places that is the least culturally engaged in the country. So we do the festival. We also have a schools project called Telling the Bees, where we brought beekeeping into local schools.
Wow.
And we also, there's like creative projects and food schools and stuff that go all along with that. Again, it's bringing something to the local community. Some of these people have been coming since the very first festival, and I adore them. Doing something like what we're doing in a place like Hartlepool, again, it's not obvious and it's not easy. And the fact that people come from all over the country to come to this festival, they're not just local people. If anything, the local people tend to go to like the free stuff outdoors, the family festival, which is great. That's what we made that for. But the fact that people will travel from all over the country and come to a place like Hartlepool, I'm so grateful for that.
So that festival this year, 2025, is October
3rd to the 5th.
3rd to the 5th. So how can people stay on top of what you're doing in terms of the festival and also your personal projects? What's the best place to do that?
Well, Insta, Hartlepool Folk Festival, Facebook, Hartlepool Folk Fest, www.hartlepoolfolkfest.co.uk.
Look,
You'll
Google Hartlepool Folk Fest.
You'll find it. And I have Haus of Voodoo, HAUS is my creative page on Insta. And I have an Etsy, which I sometimes remember to update.
What are you on Etsy?
Haus of Voodoo.
Great.
Yeah. But if anybody wants stuff, I love doing things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. And I hope the start of a friendship and a collaboration.
I'm sure.
And I guess, Joanie Crump, now that we're friends, I just have one last thing to ask you. Joanie, can I have your number?
You can. 07695.
And when I put you in my phone, what should I put as your special ringtone so I know who's calling?
Anything but Alison Moyer.
Great. I'll rotate it out every so often just to keep it fresh, but I'll know it's you.
Cool.
Joanie, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so lovely.
I'm so excited to keep my eye on everything you're up to.
Yeah, I want to hang out with you. It's going to be great.
Chatti Patti is a podcast from Curious Arts and Patti Boo Productions, recorded and edited by TJ Mauve. You can watch Chatti Patti on YouTube or the Curious Arts Vimeo, or listen wherever you get your podcasts. Follow Curious at Curious_Arts, and me at Patti Boo Rae. Chatti Patti. I didn't realize that Sally animated the Choriza dolls for us. So I was like, 100%. It's all coming together.
Yeah, and that was really interesting to me. You know, doing a bit of a collab with somebody who, I mean, because she's probably trained and everything. And here's me like sitting there with my little needles going, here we go. And I mean, she like knows what she's doing.
Yeah, Sally's coming in later today to do one.
Oh, she's not, is she?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's such a small world.